The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey, good evening, you guys. It's that time again. Welcome to another Young Voices Making Choices weekly podcast.
Hello.
It's Ladies' Night. It's your girl, Bay Holloway. And with me are my YVMC hosts.
I'm Jamila.
Amanda Michelle.
Yes. And so before we dive in, I do want to give well wishes to a member of our crew, Akila Roten.
We love you.
We love you guys.
We love you. Look at you. Looking good.
Mugshot or headshot?
Look here now. It's not a mugshot. But he was just so serious. Like, he was recently involved in a horrible head-on collision, automobile accident. So,
but God?
Yes, but God. Look at that.
He doesn't take you too far from where you're supposed to be. Thankfully, Akila and his family walked away with just a few scrapes and bruises. But, of course, all lives were spared, thankfully to the Lord.
Yes.
And, you know, Akila and his family's guardian angels, they were never short-sighted. So we just want to lift him up in prayers. And thankful to that car manufacturer for making sure those airbags did not, you know, they did what they were supposed to do. Okay?
Wow.
Man.
That's nobody but God.
Nobody but God.
Look at that.
Amazing. So, you know, Akila, much love. We miss you.
Yes.
We send you our love.
Oh, little teddy bear.
I know.
Feel better soon.
Please get better.
All right. So let's get right on into it. After last week's coverage of the Sudan massacre, Young Voices Making Choices went on a quest to discover the facts. Mm-hmm. So, why are these countrymen killing one another? In addition, what is the U.S. and any other nation with a vested interest in Sudan doing to help bring about a resolution?
What y'all doing?
What are we doing as a collective, though?
As 45. Anyway, our first step was to actually reach out to Karen Bass, our California Congresswoman, who also chairs the House Subcommittee on Africa. Let's take a look at what Karen had to say during a town hall meeting in Los Angeles.
See what your opinions say.
Right.
Come on, Karen.
Where you at?
Horrific events in the Sudan. Sudan. I'm very, very concerned about what's happening in Sudan. I was going to Sudan in 2 weeks because I am that concerned about it. But my trip got mixed because they say that it's not safe to go. So what I am doing though is I'm going to Cameroon because they're also having issues.
Mon petit, ça nous fait mal maintenant.
And then I want to go back and meet with the Prime Minister of Ethiopia because the Prime Minister of Ethiopia is trying to mediate the situation in Iran.
I just have a lot of questions. We asked Representative Karen Bass, Congresswoman Karen Bass, chair of the subcommittee on Africa, about what we're doing for those in Africa as a black woman, and specifically about Sudan. So personally, for her to go from Sudan to then say that she was too scared to go to Sudan, so she went to Cameroon, which we've noticed wasn't safe either. Period. Period poo. And then bring it back all the way to Iran. That isn't even a part of Africa. I'm not going to make any place judgment because maybe she wasn't prepared for the question as a political representative. But I will say that we need answers. Definitely. And we need to know what's going on in Sudan. We need to know, as as we did our last podcast, the hands that are in Sudan are Saudi Arabia, as Zara stated, Zara Musa, who did an interview with us, thank you so much, is Saudi Arabia, it is China, it is Russia. What do these three countries have in common?
That's a good question.
President?
No. What? Well, yeah. They all have trades with the U.S.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. Everybody has ties with us.
They all have ties with the U.S. Sudan
Right.
doesn't have ties. So what is if you could be honest with us, just tell us, we got ties, so we can't help them. But don't sit up in our face and tell us you're going to do something and not do it.
Right. Or even act as if it's a priority, but then not do it.
Everybody knows. Well, I don't know if you know, but the assumptions of the need of impeachment, and with Trump and his delegations with Russia. I'm just saying, I'm not saying it is what it is. I'm just saying what we already know, and you guys can speculate and put it together for yourselves. I'm not a political.
People are just scared to lose their jobs. They're scared to speak up.
Definitely.
But they're also scared to lose the vote of the people. So they
want to
curtail to what we want.
Right.
And make it seem like they're doing what they're supposed to do. But at the end of the day, they want their position. They got families to feed at home, and they're like, we're going to do whatever we got to do.
And that's right. And to be real with you, that's probably how Trump got elected, because he speaks his mind even when people don't like him to.
And it was also rigged. And it was also conspiracies behind that. And then also, people don't want to speak up because they don't want to have a target on their back. I think that's something that's even bigger, because people aren't even speaking up for their own black people within their community. So then to veer out of their own country, then talk about the issues going on in Sudan, Cameroon, and the fact that this has been going on for years.
And thankful to social media, we wouldn't even know about this.
Exactly. Right. So I think a lot of times they're trying to...
And that's why they're trying to do the social media ban.
Yeah, they're trying to mediate social media so we don't even know the injustices that are going on across the world. Because, for instance, our generation, we're very, very promising in the sense of, we want to make change. We want to know what's happening now. What can we do to create change, especially politically? But then, because they don't even know how to do that, that's not their main concern. They want to shield us from what's really going on.
Yeah.
So
all politics is a pretty face to cover up blood, And so, speaking of blood, jumping right back into where we left off last week, the death toll of the Dominican Republic.
It's crazy.
What's going on in the Dominican Republic?
It's crazy.
So it has risen to, what is it, 9? Yep. 10. 10.
Wow.
Since we last met.
Since we last met. Actually, let me tell you something. Let me be real. These cards say 8. It has risen in the past couple of days.
It's crazy.
Okay? And now, it appears each victim fell ill after eating or drinking something at one of the resorts. So the most recent death was Joseph Allen. You can see a picture of Joseph right here.
Let's take a look.
We have a video coming up.
When it pulls up. So now that most recent death was of Joseph Allen. And, apparently,
the recent deaths of 7 American tourists have raised concerns about the Dominican Republic, one of the most popular destinations in the Caribbean. Mola Lenghi is there with an update on what we know and what remains a mystery.
The series of deaths at luxury resorts have created confusion and raised questions about the island's safety. 55-year-old Joseph Allen of Avenel, New Jersey, was the latest death. He died in his hotel room earlier this week. The authorities have not said how. Here's what we do know. So far this year, 7 tourists have died on the island of non-accidental causes. 5 of them had similar symptoms of pulmonary edema, fluid in the lungs, and respiratory failure, and occurred at resorts in Punta Cana or La Romana. What we don't know is what caused those symptoms. The FBI is conducting their own toxicology tests on 3 of the deaths. 2 others have been deemed natural causes, both heart attacks, by island medical officials. A tropical paradise in the Caribbean, the Dominican Republic is a tourist destination to 6.6 million vacationers a year. Cesar Duvernay is a spokesperson for the Dominican Foreign Ministry and insists the deaths are unrelated and isolated.
What do you say to Americans who feel that it is unsafe to visit here?
More than 6 million people visited, and most of them North Americans, so we don't think it's a good representation. The country is very safe. and the best thing they can do is just to lay out the numbers and the facts. There were 2 other deaths with similar symptoms at those same resorts last year. The U.S. Embassy here in Santo Domingo says at this point there is no proof that any of these deaths are in fact related. Meanwhile, those FBI toxicology results are expected back, Maurice, sometime in the next 3 weeks.
Mola Lenghi in Santo Domingo tonight. Thank you.
So, in light of everything, there were some college students and a woman with her family who did get medical in time, so they weren't a part of that death toll. It's also stated that our producers let us know that 2 of the other 2 out of the 10 actually did not drink something. They're counted as part of the 10, but they did not drink something, so that kind of makes them a bit different than the rest of them who had drank something at the resort.
Right. Well, let's talk about Joseph, though. I actually read that he always visits the Dominican Republic, and this was like a normal trip. He was with his friends, and he said he was feeling sick. And so he left. He went to his room. They ended up checking on him the next morning, and he had been dead for a while. Wow. And on top of that, his son was flying in to celebrate Father's Day with him.
Wow.
And flew into his death.
That is crazy.
But they're still saying it's safe in the Dominican Republic for us to visit. And
no, definitely. I mean, I literally had a friend that booked his trip for the DR from a month from now, and like he literally had to cancel because of everything that was going on.
So, and his sister knew about everything that was going on, but she said because he always does this, he didn't think of it for him to go over there.
Right. So, a big shout out to Vtrix19. What's going on in the world? You tell me. I don't know.
Because that's what's going on.
About to die. Right. It's getting very crazy. Very, very crazy.
And shout out to Hollywood Kurt for tuning in as well. Yeah. Make sure you guys share. Let y'all people know that we out here.
Another thing I wanted to say about Joseph Allen was they won't send his body back to his family until the autopsy is complete and he's embalmed.
Hold up. Is this in the Dominican Republic, though? Mm-hmm. So I don't trust no Dominican Republic.
With him being embalmed, though, they're not going to be able to run a second autopsy
around what's going on. So, and he's a Muslim. So there's other things they're supposed to do to prepare for him.
Right. If I had the money,
do they have the right to do that?
I don't know if they. I mean, technically, it's other districts, so they may have that right. But if I had the money, I would fly out like somebody, like a doctor or somebody to look over it
to do run their own autopsy. Because with embalming, you can't do a second one, which is probably why they're trying to do that in a rush.
Exactly. But wait on that. Not only are there things going on in the Dominican Republic and the massacres in Sudan, but the same thing is happening in Cameroon.
That is right. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Man. I mean, what could be so important that these natives are raping, pillaging, and murdering one another? Now, we know it's not about the color of their skins because I didn't see not one white, Asian, Indian, or anybody else. It's really them against themselves.
Right.
Many of us have our speculations as to the driving forces behind these acts of genocide, but who's going to speak the truth?
Well,
yeah. So
I'm glad you brought up that question. In our research, we discovered that the citizens of Sudan have been peacefully opposing the government repression and violation of basic civil political rights, along with the restrictions of religious freedom. The Sudanese have been brutally massacred by their own protesting basic civil rights. Now, Oman Hassan Ahmad al-Bashir, we're going to show you a photo of this guy. He served as the president from 1993 till 2019. Do you realize I am 25 years old? I was born in 1993.
That's more like a dictatorship.
That is an entire dictatorship. That is not a presidency. So anyway, the regime that took over, headed by Bashir's cousin, was just as corrupt. There was so much going on in that whole Sudan situation. And again, we do want to give a shout out to Zara Musa for enlightening us on this, because the world wouldn't have known about it if she hadn't come forward about this on social media
and bringing knowledge. And then, however, the turmoil in Cameroon is not over resources such as foreign currency and gold, just like in Sudan. But these natives are warring amongst themselves as a result of the struggle between the Britain and France to control the official language spoken in Cameroon.
Yo, you know what that sound like?
Tell me, babe. What does it sound like, babe?
I'm just saying, technically America didn't own California.
Capitalism.
I'm just saying, like, what's the
Capitalism.
second language? All right.
It's capitalism.
Continue.
So the protesters within this movement, spearheaded by teachers, are frustrated with inflexible school curriculum that privileged Cameroon's French-speaking majority and kept English speakers at a disadvantage. They also claim that the legal system made justice harder to obtain for English speakers because it was dominated by those who spoke French. So this comes with a whole nother situation about just the overpowering and how their own culture.
And speaking of culture, shout out to Pod Queens for DMV. Yes, look at our own culture. Because, I mean, I don't think this really has to do with the culture of the Cameroonians. I don't know. Am I saying that right?
It's more so like
I'm gonna run with it. So the Cameroonians. I feel like it really has to do with European influence because what language was they speaking before French and English?
Exactly.
Like
when European influence tries to come over, and then they first dominate by language because then with language they can empower and they can control the education system.
Exactly.
And with education system within Africa, that's such a education is like main value, main core value. So
exactly, and if the French are getting a better education than the English, then obviously that is the reason for the revolt, the reason for them going after it.
People get a joy of another group being hindered from learning.
But the teachers, this is what started it. The teachers came in and started protesting. This is how this started the whole entire Civil War. Is just a teacher. So,
and this was 3 years ago. It started in 2016,
and we're just hearing about it now. So, here's a video that provides concise explanation of how two languages, both European but none native to Mother Earth, have sparked terror on African soil. It's crazy.
A nation sliding towards civil war. That's the warning from West Africa, and yet a war the world has barely taken notice of. Amid an outpouring of troubling images on social media, often hard to verify, we tracked down one witness who claims soldiers destroyed his village and murdered his neighbors.
Houses were being burned, villages are being razed, and innocent civilians who are not even armed are being killed. So many people have to flee.
Human Rights Watch says it has managed to document grave abuses against civilians on both sides.
Arresting leaders of the separatists, torturing them, and some have been killed extrajudicially.
This rapidly escalating crisis is in the predominantly English-speaking West. It began in 2016 with protests by teachers and lawyers demanding greater recognition for the English language. A government crackdown has increased tensions. Separatists have proclaimed their own unofficial state, naming it Ambazonia. Human Rights Watch has catalogued the destruction of many hundreds of homes. More than 180,000 people have fled the violence since December.
So big shout out to Ambazonia. We hope for your safety and your language barrier rights. So even though you guys are speaking a European language, that doesn't mean that you need to be pillaged and plundered and all that stuff. So.
No, definitely. So it appears as if the meeting actually addressed some pertinent foreign affairs and civil rights humanitarian issues that the United States should not ignore. We keep brushing it under the rug and not putting as much emphasis on what we can even do as Americans to help out, our fellow brothers and sisters. I feel like, do you even think that these type of acts would occur on American soil? We wouldn't have that.
I was just saying it. So, I really feel like let's be honest, the second language in America, we have so many languages. We are a melting pot, as they would like to say. But let's be real. What is this? Press
Spanish.
1 for English, press 2 for Spanish.
Spanish.
And I'm just saying, I
don't even know my numbers in Spanish.
I'm horrible at Spanish, but it's so crazy because the amount of immigration that's going on, which I can't say I'm opposed or for it because it's something that's happening, especially within California, especially within Los Angeles. It's a melting pot.
We're right by the border.
We're a liberal state, and it's definitely going to be to a point where knowing English is only going to get you so far. It's not going to get you in the door. It's going to be you have to know more than one language.
But let's be real. These people come from other countries and they have to learn English. And even though English isn't even
they're native.
Not even native, but English isn't the American language.
Right.
I mean, it is unofficially the American language, but there is no documented thing
It's
in
not
the
official,
Constitution
yeah. Right.
that says English is the language that we have to speak
of the land.
So that's what they're going to fight with. Let's be honest. That's what everybody's going to fight with. And that's why you got to press 1, press 2, press 3, Cantonese, all of these different languages. Because there is no American official language. So,
Yeah, and it's so interesting to see the passion behind, whenever you see special people in, like, the governments within Africa, how... just how we see in the video, they said, we don't care if you kill us, we don't care if you try to imprison us. They're really for fighting for their rights.
Yeah.
And it's like, are we doing that within our current legislator that's going on? I feel like, we all know what's going on as far as who's our president, who's running our country. We like to say things on social media, but what are we really doing to get out in the field to protest?
Let's see what one of our viewers had to say. Pod Queens 4DMV. When you mix an oppressive system with a lost capitalist guided generation, you are left with chaos and confusion.
Absolutely.
Reflected in our cultures as aggressive nature.
You have
Absolutely.
the angry black woman.
Yes.
Hello.
The angry black woman. I hear you.
We got something to be mad about, though.
Absolutely. And I feel like, if we keep brushing things under the rug and we're not going to, we can stay mad, we can be mad, but what are we going to do to make the change? You feel me? How are we going to bring light to the changes that need to be made?
Another thing she said was other nations just have more fight for their humanity where we are pacified and comfortable. I totally agree with that.
And I think it's more so the comfortability that sustains within American society. I feel like...
I mean, when you give us stuff like... all right. So what they did was they gave us welfare to kick out the black man out of the household. I don't know about you, but I remember I was speaking to an older lady who told me who remembers hiding their husband's clothes when the Section 8 lady came.
That's so funny.
I can't relate because I ain't got no husband. But this is what they put us through. They put us in these pacified areas and make us feel comfortable and then degrade us for being low, because guess what? In Section 8, you can only make so much money before you get kicked out of the program.
Right. They just cut my food stamps off.
No, definitely. And they make you, even if you have, amount of stature, you don't even want to file taxes so you can apply for Section 8. So you can have some type of benefit to be able to eat.
Yeah.
And a lot of things within American culture, which is why it's so important to travel outside of this country, because we don't know how good we have it. Even being, at the bottom, it's like being at the bottom here, being at the bottom in Sudan is two different bottoms.
Ooh, child.
So, in a sense, they're not risking that much that they have to lose. You feel me? They're more so worried about their dignity. They're more so worried about family, religion, education.
At the end of the day, life is something to lose in itself.
Hello.
So, our struggle and our first word struggle is nothing compared to obviously third world struggle.
Right.
But, I do...
It's a struggle, though. Yeah. Definitely.
It is right.
It's a blinded struggle, I would say.
And Mila, sweet, crafty mom.
My mom.
It is time to get uncomfortable. It is.
No, definitely. Because being uncomfortable is what's going to make change.
Yep.
Hello.
So, let me tell you guys about Renee Bash. If you guys can see over here, there's a photo of her.
Girl.
Child.
I'm over it.
Where her eyebrows?
Dr. Renee.
Okay. Probably where her doctoral degree is.
Oh my God, it's non-existent.
Let me tell you about Renee Bash. She is a quote-unquote missionary who had been treating malnourished children in Uganda. She has been running a non-governmental organization in Uganda called Serving His Children. I don't know whose children, because it ain't God's children. Because I don't know what she. Ooh, let me tell you. All right, Miss Bash is accused of performing medical procedures and giving treatment to children without medical qualifications. Look at this.
It looks like she's doing something to me.
She thinks she's doing something.
Look. At least 100 of these children have died. The Women's Pro Bono Initiative and 2 parents of the children who are died are suing Botch and wants the High Court in Uganda to shut down her organization, as they rightfully should. And Ms. Botch's allegedly deception is outlined in a statement released by the initiative in January this year. So this is what she said.
Got to say.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to say this in my Mayo Tears voice. The mothers allege that they were led to believe that Miss Renee Batch was a medical doctor and that her home was a medical facility. The statement reads, Miss Batch is often seen around the facility wearing, look at her. Oh, she's seen wearing a white coat and a stethoscope and often administered to medication to children. However, when the children died, the women were informed Miss Batch had no medical training and that the district of health officer had to close Miss Batch's facility in 2015 and ordered her not to offer any more treatment to children. But even after being ordered to shut down, she continued to serve severely ill children that needed proper medical treatment.
Right.
Like,
Miss Batch is actually out here saying that
she ready to get these
she
hands.
never acted like she was medically licensed or certified.
Look, her certification was her skin.
She said she was just
her certification was her skin.
And that's the most important fact, especially while serving in Uganda. That's what gave her that certification. And it's crazy because a lot of people are actually writing back to the missionary that she was at. And the missionary is backing her, saying that it's her calling from God.
Well, what I read said that she didn't act as if she was performing any medical surgeries or anything.
She
like
was just
that.
walking around in the stethoscope.
They were short on staff, and she was always a helping hand, willing to help out at the facilities. So she just went and gave a hand, maybe pass a few tools around, but she never actually did anything. But a blog post that she had up that she recently deleted.
Yes. Speak the facts. Speak the facts.
My heart was mourning as I sat with these children, and I see these situations so often, and blah, blah, blah. Basically, she was saying, I helped work on these children, and I see this all the time because I'm a doctor and I do this.
Right.
But now she ain't did nothing.
Right. And there is many situations where they would have malnourished kids come in there. She would just feed them food, get them back full, get them back fat again, and then send them along the way. Yeah. But they were never doing checkups. They were never having them come back in for another visit. So then a lot of times after this situation happened, they would end up dying. Yeah. So, and the fact that this isn't widespread on plenty of mediums because this has been going on for forever.
I'll tell you why.
It's beyond me.
Save our kids.
It's beyond me.
Why?
It's beyond me.
It's above me now.
It's above me now. It is above me now, okay? I can't.
Let's leave the doctor alone, okay?
Okay, so was there anything else worth mentioning from the town hall meeting? Nothing juicy was said with
besides
respect
the Dr. Dre of the medical field?
To our president?
Yes, there was actually. As you could imagine, 45 was definitely the topic of conversation, especially since 50% of Americans want him impeached, according to
he looked like
Fox
a peach.
News.
Hello, I'll be among that 50.
Let's listen to what some of us LA people had to say.
That's really important, that we make sure that we get dark money out of politics, and we use grassroots campaign financing.
I don't understand how you can cite 10 counts of obstruction, then think you need to hear your lunch. What is the message? Criminal but not impeachable house.
For those who say don't impeach but beat him at the ballot box, it seems rather risky to put all of one's marbles in that basket.
I personally believe that if we did an inquiry, I don't think it would change their behavior an iota. You have the Mueller investigation, you have the indictments of the Russians, you have Cohen pleading guilty, you have all of that under Republican control, but the Republicans do nothing in Congress.
It seems as if Democrats are divided as to whether to proceed forward with an inquiry or impeachment. I mean, what are your thoughts, guys?
All right, let's educate everybody on what impeachment versus inquiry is, because a lot of people, including myself, didn't know what inquiry was. I thought you just impeach them, you go set the what you have, you inquire.
Right.
But the thing is that a lot of times in presidencies you have to inquire in order to get to the impeachment, because in order to inquire you have to get dirt. Now the thing is that with Trump,
he's a dirty man.
There ain't nothing to find out. We already know.
He's a dirty dog.
That he ain't But we already know all of this stuff. So people are saying, why go through with the Bass is saying, why go through with the inquiry? We're going to get our ducks in a row, whatever that means, and then we'll go ahead and impeach him. Other people are saying, go with the inquiry, because if he slips up, if y'all find something and you're like, is this the case? And he says, no, this isn't the case. Then you can pull him up on the same thing that you got. Who was the last one that was impeached?
Nixon?
No. No, he wasn't impeached. He was the one that has the wife. He cheated on her because he got head in the.
Oh, you talking about Bill Clinton? He wasn't impeached.
He stepped down. So the thing is that we're trying to. They're trying to say, who cares about the impeachment? Let's just go for the inquiry and then get him to step down. But Trump ain't gonna step down. He got too much cahoots for that.
Well, a lot of people are saying we should do the inquiry anyway, just so people will be aware of what he's actually doing.
We're pretty dang aware.
Well, there is other things that we don't know because they haven't dug that deep into what he's doing.
And because he keeps halting them at every investigation. He keeps finding a way to stop the investigation to where they can't dig deeper to pull out more of his,
Yeah, and every time they get closer, he ends up firing somebody.
Yeah, and then I also read that they said it would actually be worse for Democrats if they were to try to impeach him and then fail.
Because it's going to go in further investigation of the Democratic Party.
But the problem is that, she stated before that the representatives owned the House for a majority of his term, and now we're at a point where the Democrats own a majority of the houses, and that now they're starting to get the ball rolling. Yeah. I don't care if it was one person in that office that we voted for your butt to get in that office and do something. I don't think it should have took 2 years to get your act together.
He still hasn't got his act together.
You think they should start impeaching him now, or they should wait?
I'm just saying it took him too long. I'm just saying that I don't care if most of the House was full of Republicans. If there was one Democrat in that House, then that one Democrat should have been going for the voice of the people. If you are a public servant, you should have been getting your act together so that way now that we're at the point now, we should have had our ducks in a row and he should be already out now that we own the House.
Right.
And I'm not going to say we because technically I'm a moderate, but what I'm saying is that, if you want to get your act together, you should have. The people that was in the House before the representatives got kicked out, y'all should have did something. I'm putting the blame on you. So it seems.
All right.
She's putting the blame on you. She said, I am. You are to be blamed. Okay, I agree.
So, changing the subject.
Something light.
Something a little lighter. Well, already made people. A lot of people may not know, but yesterday was Juneteenth.
Woo! Go Black people!
Shout out to that.
Shout out to Black people. Now, for those who don't know, you know what I'm saying? This is the day that African Americans celebrate their day of independence from slavery. We don't celebrate July 4th because we wasn't free then. So.
Right, but we don't know that because we still popping fireworks. I ain't gonna lie, I'm still popping fireworks. But we should have been popping fireworks yesterday. Okay?
But here's a video created by The Roots. It's actually a remake of the song Schoolhouse Rock, a popular educational television program.
If the Emancipation Proclamation was passed in 1863, why weren't you free until 1865?
Well, it took 2 years for the Civil War to end.
Oh, so you were free when the war ended?
Nah, not for 2 more months because Texas landowners wanted another harvest.
That's not cool.
Well, none of it was cool. But an Army ship arrived on June 19th, 1865 and announced we were free. That's why we celebrate Juneteenth.
I am a slave and the home of the brave, a product of the triangular trade. Please pardon my ways if I'm nervous or the slightest bit skittish. In the presence of the Portuguese, Spanish, Dutch, or British, they kept me in colonial chains. Tell me how to persuade them to chill or to save me if still I'm a slave.
That was not uncomfortable at all.
Period. And it's our job to make them feel uncomfortable, okay?
We're not in the season of comfortability.
Hello? I will make them feel uncomfortable. You see it. You see it. So that video is a perfect segue to another topic of discussion and a bone of contention raised by Los Angelinos. Listen to what the young and seasoned alike had to say.
I like seasoned.
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 Reasonable.
Also, next week there are going to be hearings on HR 40, which is around reparations, and I would like to hear if the CBC or if there's any constituents, particularly from our district, that is going to be participating in the hearings.
Reparations has been completely ridiculed, and the way it is talked about is black people want a check. And it's like black people, always want welfare. It does not acknowledge the fact that the reason why we live in the country we live in today in terms of its development is because the first 200 years HR 40 does not give reparations. HR 40 calls for the establishment of a commission.
The characterizations of such an effort that I hear from others is wrong and undermines our collective purpose and common ground. This idea that it's just about writing a check from one American to another falls far short of the importance of this conversation and what I believe we will truly talk about. I say that I am brokenhearted and angry right now. Decades of living in a community where you see how deeply unfair this nation is still to so many people who struggle, who work hard, who do everything right but still find themselves disproportionately with lead in their water, super funds in their neighborhood, schools that don't serve their genius, healthcare disparities that still affect their body and their well-being. We as a nation must address these persistent inequalities, or we will never fully achieve the strength and the possibility. Hope is the active conviction that despair will not have the last word. I believe right now, today, we have a historic opportunity to break the silence, to speak to the ugly past, and talk constructively about how we will move this nation forward. As the old African saying says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. It's about time we find the common ground and the common purpose to deal with the ugly past and make sure that generations ahead do not have to continue to mark disparities, but can truly talk about a nation where, as our ancestors spoke from the good book, where justice rolls down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, you better preach.
Man, if that didn't hit you hard, I don't know if...
That touched me.
That hit my soul, because that's just the very essence of what being black in America or being a minority in America speaks volumes to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, to be perfectly honest, it's impossible if you weren't set to have some type of benefit as a black person to be able to succeed, because you're brought down by so many systematic opportunities and systematic deviances that are going to get you from where you need to go. Mm-hmm. It's what this society and what this country has literally been built on. And I feel like, as black people, just how he said it, if we only move alone, we're only going to get so far. If we don't understand how us bringing in as far as community and supporting one another, we're never going to get anywhere.
Right.
We have to go together in order to get to where we need to go.
Right. Speaking of going, we all know that historically African Americans actually came over here with forced immigration. However, there are others who are actually trying to come into the U.S. in search of a better way of living and often fleeing persecution as refugees. If we're truthful with ourselves, illegal immigration must be effectively managed if America is to survive. Let's take a look at our president's recent proposal. Come on, 40.
Officially kicking off his re-election campaign, President Trump echoed some familiar themes.
We believe our country should be a sanctuary for law-abiding citizens, not for criminal aliens.
His rally comes a day after a barrage of late Monday evening tweets in which he warned that immigration authorities would conduct mass deportations beginning next week. Such an operation would require hundreds or thousands of agents and law enforcement personnel who are already overextended. Proponents argue for more resources.
I think the first thing that has to happen is the government has to have the capacity and the ability and resources to enforce the law. In other words, end the border crisis and make sure that ICE can do its job for the most part in the interior.
The timing of President Trump's announcement raised red flags regarding his intentions. but opponents warn his rhetoric has already proven to have consequences.
I think we can't put it past the federal government to do what they are saying they want to do, because obviously we saw that they went ahead with the plan to separate families at the border. And, you know, as heinous and as horrible as that was, that did not stop them from going ahead with that, right? So I think we have to take them at their word that they're going to try and do that here.
Immigration attorney Matthew Cameron says a massive roundup operation is simply not possible, but he has no doubt that fear will set in among undocumented communities anyway.
That means that people aren't going to go to their medical appointments, they're not going to go take their kids to school, they're going to skip days on the job, if they really believe that there's a possibility.
On the same evening he threatened mass deportations, President Trump said the United States was preparing to sign a safe third country agreement with Guatemala, a measure that would prevent Central Americans fleeing persecution from applying for asylum in the U.S. Ramon Taylor, VOA News, New York.
Okay, mass deportation. So how do you think Trump announcing that he's trying to move forward with mass deportation will actually affect the social and economic climate of the U.S.?
You know what this reminds me of?
What?
Remember when soldiers would go up and down the streets of countries?
With those big yep.
That's what and they would put people in camps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if you can concentrate on the word that I'm looking for, but
it's literally what he's doing is creating propaganda. I actually seen, you know, everybody has their speculations and their thoughts about this mass immigration and like ICE and deportation, but I definitely feel like Trump is really focused on the wrong thing in my personal view.
You think it's going to help his political campaign?
I think that's what he's only trying to do it for, and he's targeting his personal audience, and he knows who's voting for him.
So you don't think he really cares if it happens or not, but just to say that it will for his
right? And I also think he's not doing it for the right reasons.
I think he could do it. I think he would do it.
I don't think he can do it.
I think
the staff that they need and all of. Imagine getting all of these immigrants.
They probably won't do it at such a mass scale, but it's going to happen.
But the fact of how he's so focused on deportation and also
he skews words a lot.
He's targeting also us as a community to agree with that, so that way we can feel like, okay, now our economics are going to plumber up. But in reality, he's not really looking to put money back into our communities, realistically, because you still have gentrification. We still haven't tackled things that need to be tackled before I personally feel like deportation needs to be tackled.
Exactly.
There's for you to not even understand the effect of climate change, how technology is driving this country, how different opportunities that you can open up could help both sides of the story. So he's literally throwing out propaganda because he doesn't know what move to make in order to gain his votes, in order to not be looked at for inquiry of impeachment, in my opinion.
So you think it will negatively affect his...
I think for his target audience...
He's just playing his last card.
For his target audience, because technically we're not his target audience. For his target audience, it'll definitely help his campaign, for sure. I mean, business people, like, that's what they want.
I think it sounds stupid.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's going to negatively affect his campaign, because people are just starting to see that things Trump says are like kind of in over his head. Like, it's no way he's going to be able to go through with mass deportation.
Right.
Maybe deportation, but
and then it's like, who are you targeting within this mass deportation and the way that they're mass?
Let's be real. He's not mass deporting the Asians,
and
he's not mass deporting.
So then I feel like a lot of times African Americans and Latinos, we're black and brown peoples, and that creates a propaganda to where now we're also against one another. You feel me? So
I do this for example. Look at the warehouses in California. For those who have worked in warehouses, you'll understand how there is a clear divide between the Mexican people and the black people that are in these warehouses, and it has nothing to do with us as individual cultures, because we're both beautiful cultures, but because of the fact that they kind of group together and we kind of group together, it makes them feel like there's something against us, like they're putting this unneeded wall against us.
And I just feel like there's there's other things that need to be tackled. Like,
Exactly.
for instance, like offering free health care to
not gonna do that.
illegal immigrants. Well, it's happening in California.
He's not giving nothing up.
He's not gonna do that. The Congress.
I think it's just like there's ways to already. You need to appreciate the citizens you have here,
Yes.
and also try to rebuild the marginalized citizens that you have here. But I can't agree with the way that mass deportation is being done, because I definitely believe that it's inhumane. I can't support something that's.
They've already separated
Yeah, I
families.
can't support anything like that just because I feel like I'm an American citizen. Because at the end of the day, America doesn't even look at me as an American citizen, if you want to be
That
real.
part.
And that's why some people weren't for it, because of how it's gonna look. Even
Exactly.
though they want that, they don't want to put that image back out there of parents being ripped from their
Right.
kids.
And we
people
know
are
who
trying
our
to
president is. So
and
it's
people
like,
are trying to say, like, you know, oh, it's because they're taking our jobs or whatever. But, you know.
but are they really taking? Okay,
They really create their own jobs.
and that's how I
don't
feel.
want.
We could take some.
And I would say that, are they really taking our jobs, especially being here illegally? Like, there's only so much work that they can do until they have their papers, you know?
Now, speaking of, you know, different, you know, things that political candidates can do to better the country, I want to talk about Andrew M. Cuomo. He is signing the Driver License Act and Privacy Act, also known as the Green Light Law. That's him right there. Now, advocates of the bill say it would mitigate stigma against undocumented immigrants, allowing them to contribute to the economy and more easily navigate their everyday lives. Critics of the law worry that there aren't enough details in the legislation about how to implement the policy, and many feel that providing undocumented immigrants with driver license could compromise security. I honestly feel like you give them a driver's license.
They're a citizen.
No, they're not.
No, I'm just.
That's how you feel.
I mean, at that point, with a
get
license,
you a citizen.
What's the point of? Okay, so think
They
about
wanna
it.
drive.
They can drive.
In order to be a citizen, you have to have a social security number, a tax ID number, because being a citizen requires paying taxes.
Right.
So having an ID isn't so much of like, I feel like it's the same thing as the star. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that they should get IDs, but I feel like under this term of what we got going on right now, the idea of giving them IDs with special immigrant, you know, stuff.
Oh, that's what it
makes it.
is.
Yeah, makes it seem as if like
it's putting a target on them.
a target on it.
Definitely.
Yeah, they were saying it's going to put you in a database where they can pin. But they say it's not going to happen, but
it is going to happen.
But that
put you in a
sounds
database.
So now with that database,
you were talking about how are they gonna just round up people, but
But that's exactly how they're gonna
ID
wind
with their
up people.
birthday, with their
Where they live.
address. That's
That's all the information they need.
That's all the information they need. All
well,
I'm
I know
saying,
they know ways around stuff. Real, you know, so they might not get their ID numbers and addresses and all that. I don't know.
I do. Now,
think they
podcast
just
Queens for
wanna
DMV, the average voter thinks he's getting things done. He's mafia. Capitalists are going to mess with him regardless. And there's there are more entrepreneurs now than ever, which is very true, hun.
Yeah.
So they're just ridding the quote-unquote competition and taxing. And bosses versus consumers. So I feel like, you know, that is true. There are a lot more a lot more business owners now and entrepreneurs. But I believe that the number one export in America is entertainment. So when it comes to like more and more business owners, I think we're going more digital. But I think that when it comes to, and maybe this may be my own ignorance, so let me know if I'm saying the wrong thing. But I think when it comes to foreigners, they are more on the goods and aspects to give to us, like food, you know, things, labor, you know, things like that.
Okay, well, that bill we were talking about actually barely won.
Right?
Oh, dang.
It passed with just one more vote than the minimum requirement.
Whew.
Yes.
Okay.
So big shout out to 21 Savage.
Hey, 21.
Hey.
Hello.
Look at
You your mama's son, boy. Look at him.
21. Hey.
Okay, so he recently donated $25,000 for legal aid for detained immigrants. And we know that Jay-Z stepped up to cover 21 Savage's legal fees.
He is just paying it forward. Look at
Right?
Jay-Z.
Hello.
Shout out to Beyonce. Just
Recent billionaire, okay? When he was held by ISIS. So it's only fitting for 21 Savage to also pay it forward. So we love that.
Now, speaking of Jay-Z coming to the aid of those wrongfully accused, he came to someone else's rescue. Come on.
Who?
Come on.
Keep
All right,
coming, Jay.
Drayvon Ames, 22, and Aisha Harper, 24, filed a notice claim on Thursday, which accused the officers of battery, false arrest, unlawful imprisonment, and causing emotional distress. So let's take a look at this video that done went viral.
Let's see.
Every time I look at that video, it's extremely unsettling.
And it's the video viewed by millions. Tonight, Phoenix Police Chief Jerry Williams sets the record straight. 6 days after we first showed you the department, this disturbing video of officers confronting a family, including a pregnant woman and 2 children. Police say that the family was shoplifting, but many say the officers went too far. It's a story making national headlines now, and ABC 15's Jamie Warren has more from police headquarters.
Chief Williams is now directly answering our questions surrounding the department's transparency and the public's trust in its officers.
Every time I look at that video, it's extremely unsettling.
This is Phoenix Police Chief Jerry Williams addressing this video on ABC 15 Mornings.
I apologize to the community, but at the end of the day, there's more to the story.
The department says before guns were drawn, foul language used, and an officer sweeping the knees of a driver in handcuffs. It started with a shoplifting call at this Family Dollar.
When officers go to make initial contact, they run out of the store. We make a traffic stop. As the vehicle is fleeing, the car stops. We arrest one lady who's charged with warrants later. The car flees again.
The driver accused of stealing underwear, his 4-year-old daughter, a doll. But the family says their actions didn't warrant this response. The Phoenix Police Department had a record number of officer-involved shootings last year, and a watchdog group recently exposing 75 Phoenix officers making social media posts seen as racist or violent. We asked Chief Williams, how can the public trust its officers?
Every time we find out about a scenario and situation, we're addressing it, we're dealing with it.
But those posts and this video were not brought forward by Phoenix Police, but rather citizens on the outside.
I reconcile that by saying I can't fix what I don't know. I didn't know about the Facebook post. I didn't know about the shoplifting incident. I think it would be different if we became aware of this and we did nothing and we just sat by and said, I'm sorry, I don't have any comment.
When asked why the department's own officers aren't coming forward,
we do need to do better, and we need to communicate better, and we need to do some different things. We're going to be looking at policy. We're going to be looking at more training.
The officers in this video were not issued body cameras. Chief Williams says all officers should be wearing them by August.
The Phoenix Police Department culture is a good culture. We are seeing one-offs and we're seeing situations of individuals who are tarnishing our reputation, not just as Phoenix police officers, but as law enforcement in general. And I am certain that we are going to repair that.
Jamie Warren, ABC 15 Arizona.
That's sad. One of our viewers, Christian Osazi, said, so much hatred in my heart, even with the police, shaking my head. It's hard for me to even watch this. That says a lot about America.
I'm just so desensitized to it.
It's everywhere.
Exactly. So as if there hasn't been enough controversy involved around racism lately, were you aware that one of the Parkland School shooting victims has had his admissions to Harvard University rescinded for racist comments he made a few years ago?
As he should.
Yeah.
As he should.
Let's take a look at the video first and check it out.
The survivor of the Parkland shooting says that Harvard has rescinded his admission due to racist comments that he allegedly made nearly 2 years ago. His name is Kyle Kushub, and he became known as a gun rights activist after surviving the shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida. Last month, he issued an apology after screenshots surfaced of racist slurs that he allegedly wrote when he was 16 years old. Harvard sent him a letter revoking his acceptance, but Kyle says the letter and the school has refused to meet with him. So in a tweet today, Kyle says, and I'm quoting here, in the end, This isn't about me. It's about whether we live in a society in which forgiveness is possible or mistakes brand you as irredeemable, as Harvard has decided for me. Kyle went on to say that he has given up huge scholarships in order to go to Harvard and that the deadline for accepting other college offers has already passed. He says he is exploring all of his options.
I just gotta say this. I understand where Harvard was coming from. So extra. As a woman of God, I don't think people's past should hinder them from moving forward in the future.
But it doesn't mean he needs to work. He needs to be at Harvard.
No,
I mean,
you don't need to be at Harvard at all, because at that point you're not paying for what the
where
costs
you
are.
being ain't where you going.
Exactly.
There are 100 other people.
If you are truly sorry, then you'll continue on these endeavors to prove and to do things that which your character can show for
I
it.
forgive you, Kyle.
You know, I could forgive, but I can't say that I feel bad.
I mean, I ain't go to Harvard, so
because we don't
Did
have
you
the
apply
right to be
Harvard,
racist.
sis? Did you apply?
So,
I mean,
tell us about.
I wanted to go to HBCU. Okay.
Okay.
So speaking of HBCUs,
Black Girl Magic.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Well, maybe Kyle Castro should attend the Dream Experience.
Yes.
That is being sponsored by Go For Yours and the Shade Room. Shout out to them.
Shout out Erica McCall.
Since he has had the shade pulled from over his head and his true identity exposed, okay? So it is time for him to reset his dreams, plan for a new experience, one that doesn't include Harvard, unfortunately. You know,
It's
so
above them now.
It's above him. So let's look at this video to learn more about the Dream Experience, okay?
How many people actually model what they're talking about? So the vision just grew. And the more that I started, researching people and hearing their stories, it just made me to actually kind of want to test the theory out. Like, okay, if I follow my dream and something I'm really passionate about, what would happen? I can't do this interview without giving a shout out to the Shade Room.
That was on my next question.
Because they are the reason that we're able to do this. So Angelica, who is the founder, she... when she first heard about Go For Yours, she loved it. She's read the book and she said, I want to be able to help you guys in what you're doing. So they made a huge contribution to the foundation where this contribution will not go in vain. We are going to make sure that, we do this program in a way where, more people are going to want to contribute and be a part of it. So the Dream Experience is a 1-week program and it's for young leaders. During that week, we'll focus on leadership development, entrepreneurship, and civic engagement. And then just wanting them to have just the ultimate LA experience, because there's certain things that you have to experience when you come to LA. So the Shade Room's really using this. We couldn't have done it without her. Right. And these lives are being changed.
So for more information on the Dream Experience, make sure you guys check us out on Young Voices Making Choices. We're going to give you the full in-depth BET Awards experience, the Dream Experience. Shade Room, thank you so much for the opportunity to be in your corner as your media outlet.
Perfect.
All right, so on a lighter note, our YVMC host Jamila had the pleasure of covering the MTV Music and Television Awards last weekend.
Come through, sis.
Yes, Jamila.
Whatever you do, sis, keep it cute, sis.
We know there were many celebrities in the house adorning the latest shoes, clothing, and jewelry, and all the drip. But before you give us the drip, let's take a look at some of the red carpet footage. What am I saying? Red carpet footage.
Hello.
So shout out to Boohoo Men. They designed me. Got the Boohoo bag. Got the Boohoo shirt. Little silk shirt. TSV Jewelry. They gave me this Team Chocolate chain and it's icy. So shout out to them as well.
Oh, I'm elated. I'm excited. Yeah. I'm lost for words right now. I can't even believe that I'm here speaking with you. I'm just excited. I'm blessed.
Celebrating?
Absolutely. It's a celebration. On the way.
Okay. I see your outfit going on. You feel me?
Yeah, got the little Louis and the little H&M.
Oh.
Queen, all of that. Zara, all of that. Top Man. All in one.
5 designers, baby.
Yes. Might be more. Yeah, we got the Rolex on the wrist. Yeah, don't miss the Rolex. Can't miss that.
He said, I want to be humble, but I can't. I don't know how.
I'm blessed. Shout out Showtime and Fox and all of my followers. I'm just wearing, I'm saying? I think this is just Zara. This ain't even nothing crazy. This is just like a regular like little suit and jacket. The Balenci's a nice touch, I guess. But
a little statement piece you threw
Yeah, with the little red accent, I guess. But other than that, I'm not really wearing anything. I just put it together a little different. That's all.
Hello, you're wearing you.
Yeah. Yo, what's up, y'all? This Chris D. Lofton, HBO Ballers.
Young Voices Making Choices. Shout out to y'all. Thanks for having me.
It's Barton Fitzpatrick. I play the character Reg on the Showtime series The Chi with my homegirl. We want to let y'all know it's Young Voices Making Choices.
Hello.
Most excited to meet?
Honestly, I can't lie. She wasn't on the video, but my baby Cupcake, she was a dog. I interviewed a dog. She was so cute. I definitely am a dog lover. I might love dogs more than people, but I really had a lot of fun.
Actually, hold up. We actually do have a video.
Do we have a bit of Cupcake? My babe.
Excuse me. Coming through. Oh, this is quaint.
What are we wearing tonight, baby girl?
Just a few Swarovski crystals. You know, something homemade. Setting a standard.
Set the standard. I see you're setting a statement with that tail, with these bows.
Don't touch my bow.
Tell them how a trendsetter really does it.
Well, a trendsetter doesn't let you touch them, but you wouldn't know that. Somebody get her. Young Voices Making Choices. It's your girl Cupcake.
She was a little feisty.
Wow. So for the full video of Cupcake, we'll be posting that right after. We do apologize.
Yes.
We do apologize. We lost our lives.
I know, but
Cupcake doing better than me.
She's doing better than a lot of us, okay?
So in addition to Princess Cupcake, social media has been abuzz about a new step called the cage dance.
Oh, goodness.
Let's see if you can bust this move. Okay.
I'm still doing the sea walk.
Right.
Who wrote the script? Who said bust a move?
Motto, get your cage. All dogs get in their fucking cage. All dogs get in their fucking cage. Dog cage song. Hey, dog get a treat. Dog get a treat. Black dog get a treat. Black dog get a treat. Picking the bird on your hand. The bird running, he the man. Dogs get in the cage. Hey, you in your cage. Hey, Milo's in his cage. Hey, Loki, where you going? Get the hell in your cage. Hey, go in your cage. Thank you, Loki. All dogs in that cage. One person left. He the worst one. He always trying to run. Oh my goodness. Get in your cage. Get in your cage. Hey, get in your cage. Get in your cage. Get in your cage. Do the cage dance. Get in your cage.
I'm so dead. I need to do that for my dog, okay? She don't even know what a cage is. Goodness.
That little doggy lover.
Right, me? Okay, so unfortunately, we are out of time. But thank you guys for tuning in and for commenting.
Make sure you guys check out the YouTube if you got cut off, so that way it'll give you the full live broadcast. Just so you know, Young Voices Making Choices on YouTube.
Yes, so please join us next week for another Young Voices Making Choices podcast. Until then, make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter at Young Voices Making Choices, and Facebook and YouTube at Young Voices Making Choices. So Twitter and Instagram, Young Voices MC. Okay? Perfect.
And in closing, we would like to share with you our last video. It's a dedication to the Dockweiler United States Postal Station in Los Angeles, California, to the late singer-songwriter and social justice activist Marvin Gaye. Some would like to think that this is a form of reparations. See you next week.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Good afternoon. Make that good Marvin Gaye afternoon.
This event is the Marvin Gaye Post Office dedication. This post office is being renamed in Marvin's memory.
It is a big event for the community. We've been trying to name this post office after Marvin Gaye for some time. Today it became a reality. That's why you see we have such a great crowd. People are excited.
I think it's a tremendous honor, well-deserved. This is incredible. He was so involved with this community, and for it to be here, it's perfect.
All honors come in due time. I wish we had done this years ago, but I'm so happy we're doing it today.
He's a Grammy winner, but he's also, in my opinion, the producer, writer, and the musician and singer on the greatest album in music history, What's Going On. That album is still relevant today, so Marvin's music and his legacy is timeless.
This is a guy whose music was before his time. If you play a lot of his songs that are 25, 35 years old, they have messages that work for today.
His music is more relevant today than ever. He's saying what's going on with our air, with the fish are dying, what is happening with the hate in the world, what's going on.
He is a message in his music. He gives you that inspiration. No matter what you're going through, you find some kind of way to come together with peace and love with this music.
He was my hero. He was my hero all my life. To describe Marvin, Marvin was a very complicated man, genius, sweet, kind, oh my God, loving. Marvin was a little bit of everything. I just like to say thank you, everybody, for loving my brother so much. If he would look around and he would say how sweet it is to be loved by you.